The 5 steps in action. For larger trees, it can be much more of a challenge to apply the 5 steps. For example, this sycamore needs more work than the previous smaller tree. In step 1, we removed a few small broken branches. In step 2, we selected a leader and removed a competing stem. For step 3, we selected a lowest permanent branch at about 6 feet. This branch has a strong attachment and is half the diameter of the trunk. We selected 6 scaffold branches on this larger tree in step 4. We chose scaffolds that are well spaced apart, both vertically and radially, have a good angle of attachment, and are less than half the size of the trunk. Finally, we removed large temporaries below the lowest permanent branch and reduced a smaller one. Remember to lightly support the branch when using a saw to avoid tearing the bark. If the branch is heavy, cut it off in sections. Slow down just before completing the cut to control the blade. After completing the 5 steps, a central leader has been established and a strong branch framework developed. At this point, the tree has a structural foundation that can be developed further on from year to year. Trees that start with relatively poor structure are more of a challenge, whether large or small. For example, this small plum tree does not have an established central leader, and the largest branches are low on the trunk and spaced close together. In applying the 5 steps, we selected the most central stem as the leader and cut back competing stems. Where this tree is growing, the lowest permanent branch needs to be at 7 feet, and all of these branches are too low to qualify as a lowest permanent branch. They're too large to be temporary branches, so we need to remove them. Because of the tree's initial poor structure, we had to remove much of the crown. As it grows in subsequent years, we'll continue to prune to develop structure. This small plum has better branch spacing than the previous tree, so less pruning is needed. It has a pretty good central leader, so we just removed one of the large central stems and reduced smaller competing stems. We chose a lowest permanent branch between 5 and 6 feet and established 2 scaffold branches by removing nearby branches. Because its initial structure was better than the previous plum, we didn't need to remove as much. Keep in mind that trees with initial poor structure generally need to be pruned substantially in their formative years, and some impact on growth is likely. Nonetheless, it's better to establish good structure at this point than to be overly concerned about a reduction in growth rate. For larger trees with poor structure, expect a substantial amount of work and a large pile of brush to develop good structure. This plum is a very good example. After removing a few small broken branches, we selected a central leader, removed 3 large competing stems, and reduced several smaller stems. We chose a lowest permanent branch with a good attachment at 6 feet for step 3, and established scaffolds in step 4. Since 3 large branches occur below the lowest permanent branch, these need to be removed in step 5. If they were smaller, they could be reduced or left alone as temporaries. As you can see, a substantial amount of the crown had to be removed to establish good structure, and more pruning will be needed in subsequent years. Since this is still a young tree, it should continue to grow at a satisfactory rate, yet have much improved structure. Clearly, you don't want to wait too long to train young trees. The sooner you start, the better.